Hello, my wonderful English learners. Welcome back to our storytelling classroom. Today, I have a touching story that will warm your heart and teach you something important about the power of community. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt worried about your family? Have you ever wanted to help someone you love but didn't know how? Sometimes children carry heavy worries that adults don't even know about. Touching. This means causing feelings of sympathy or emotion. Community. This is a group of people who live in the same area and help each other. Today, I want to tell you about Thomas, a young boy with bright eyes and contagious laughter. But behind his happy smile, Thomas was carrying a secret worry that was too big for his small shoulders. Contagious laughter. This means laughter that makes other people want to laugh too. Secret worry. This is something that makes you anxious, but you don't tell anyone about it. This is a story about how one brave boy tried to save his family and how his community came together to help him in ways he never expected. It's a story about music, courage, and the amazing things that happen when people care for each other. Courage. This means being brave when you're afraid. Are you ready to meet Thomas and discover the song in his heart? Thomas lived in a small, quiet village with his parents. His father, Mr. Thompson, was a carpenter who worked with wood, building and fixing things for people in the village. Carpenter, this is a person who makes and repairs things made of wood. His mother, Mrs. Thompson, was a seamstress who sewed clothes and repaired them for the villagers. Both parents worked very hard every day. Seamstress, this is a woman whose job is sewing clothes. But even though they worked from morning until night, there was never enough money. Thomas would wake up each morning to the sound of his parents having hushed conversations in worried tones. Hushed conversations. This means talking quietly so others can't hear. Worried tones. This is the way people's voices sound when they're anxious. "How will we pay the rent this month?" his mother would whisper. "The bills are piling up and we're running out of food," his father would reply quietly. Piling up. This means accumulating or becoming more and more. Running out of. This means having very little left. Thomas pretended to be asleep, but he heard every word. These conversations made his stomach feel tight with worry. He loved his parents and wanted to help them, but he was just a child. What could he do? At school, Thomas tried to act normal, but the worry was always there in the back of his mind. He found it difficult to concentrate in class, especially in math, which was already hard for him. Concentrate. This means to focus your attention on something. One day, his teacher, Miss Adams, noticed that Thomas seemed to be distracted and wasn't understanding the math problems. Distracted. This means not able to pay attention because you're thinking about something else. "Thomas," she said gently after class, "you seem to be having trouble with math lately. Would you like me to help you?" Thomas felt embarrassed. He didn't want anyone to know about his family's problems, But he also knew he was falling behind in his studies. Embarrassed. This means feeling ashamed or uncomfortable. Falling behind. This means not keeping up with others. "I'm sorry, Miss Adams," Thomas said quietly. "I'm trying my best, but I can't seem to understand the problems." Miss Adams smiled warmly. "It's okay to ask the help, Thomas. That's what I'm here for." Warmly. This means in a kind and friendly way.
At school, Thomas had a friend named Peter who wore thick glasses and walked with a slight limp. Some of the other children made fun of Peter, calling him names and laughing at the way he walked. Thick glasses. These are eyeglasses with very strong lenses. Slight limp. This means walking in an uneven way because one leg is weaker. One day, Thomas saw a group of children surrounding Peter in the playground. They were pushing him and calling him Four Eyes because of his glasses. Surrounding. This means forming a circle around someone. Thomas felt angry seeing his friend being treated badly. Even though he had his own worries, he couldn't just watch Peter suffer. "Leave him alone," Thomas said, walking up to the bullies with determination. "Peter is my friend, and you have no right to hurt him." The bullies were surprised by Thomas's bravery and walked away. Peter looked at Thomas with gratitude in his eyes. Gratitude means feeling thankful. "Thank you, Thomas," Peter said quietly. "You didn't have to do that." "Of course I did. Friends help friends. How about I walk to school with you every day so those bullies leave you alone?" From that day on, Thomas and Peter walked to school together every morning. During these walks, they talked about their dreams and their problems. Thomas learned that Peter's family also struggled with money, and his glasses were old and broken because they couldn't afford new ones. Struggled with, this means had difficulty dealing with something. "I guess everyone has their own battles to fight," Thomas said thoughtfully. Battles to fight. This is an expression meaning personal challenges or difficulties. Peter nodded, but it's easier when you have a friend to fight them with. If you're enjoying Thomas's story so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can learn more English through stories with us.
With Miss Adams' help, Thomas began to improve in math. She stayed after school with him twice a week, patiently explaining the problems step by step. Patiently. This means without getting frustrated, taking time to help. Step by step. This means doing something slowly and carefully, one part at a time. "You see, Thomas," Miss Adams would say, "math is like building a house. You need a strong foundation before you can build the walls." Foundation. This is the base that supports a building or the basic knowledge you need. Slowly, Thomas began to understand the math concepts. More importantly, he gained confidence in himself. He realized that asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of wisdom. Gained confidence. This means became more sure of his abilities. Wisdom. This means having good judgment and understanding. But even as his grades improved, the worry about his family's financial situation continued to grow. Thomas would hear his parents' conversations getting more desperate each night. Desperate. This means feeling hopeless and willing to try anything. "We're 3 months behind on rent," his father said one evening. "The landlord says if we don't pay soon, we'll have to move out." Behind on rent. This means not having paid the money owed for housing. Landlord. This is the person who owns a house or apartment and rents it to others. Thomas lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. He felt helpless. His parents worked so hard and he was doing better in school, but none of that would help if they lost their home. Helpless. This means unable to do anything to improve a situation. The next day, Thomas made a decision. He would find ways to earn money to help his family. After school, he went around the village asking neighbours if they needed any small jobs done. Mrs. Johnson needed her lawn mowed. Mr. Garcia wanted help washing dishes at his small restaurant. The elderly Mrs. Peterson needed someone to run errands for her. Lawn mowed. This means grass cut short. Run errands. This means do small tasks like shopping or delivering things. Thomas took every job he could find. He mowed lawns, washed dishes, delivered groceries, and cleaned windows. Every penny he earned, he gave to his parents. Every penny. This means all the money, even the smallest amounts. But no matter how hard he worked, it never seemed to be enough. The family's debts continued to grow, and the threat of losing their home became more real each day. Debts. This is money that you owe to other people. Threat. This means something bad that might happen.
One day, while Thomas was walking home from school, he saw a bright yellow flyer posted on the village bulletin board. Flyer, this is a piece of paper with information, usually advertising something. Bulletin board, this is a board where people post notices and announcements. The flyer announced a local talent show with a grand prize of $5,000, enough money to pay all of his family's debts and keep their home. Talent show. This is a competition where people perform their special skills. Grand prize. This is the biggest and best prize in a competition. Thomas's heart began to beat faster. He had always loved music and had taught himself to play the guitar. His grandfather had given him an old guitar before he died, and Thomas had spent countless hours practicing. Countless hours, this means many, many hours. He rushed home and showed the flyer to his parents. "Thomas, I don't know," his mother said hesitantly. "What if you don't win? I don't want you to be disappointed." Hesitantly. This means in an uncertain way, not sure about something. Disappointed. This means sad because something didn't happen the way you hoped. "Mum, Dad," Thomas said with determination, "I have to try. This could be the answer to our problems. I won't give up without a fight." Give up without a fight means to quit without trying your best. His parents looked at each other and saw the hope and determination in their son's eyes. Finally, they gave their reluctant blessing. Reluctant blessing means agreeing to something even though you have doubts. "All right, Thomas," his father said, "if this is what you really want to do, we'll support you." Thomas spent every free moment practicing. He practiced before school, after school, and late into the evening. He played the same songs over and over until his fingers were sore. Free moment. This means available time when you're not busy. Sore. This means painful from being used too much.
The night of the talent show arrived. The village community center was packed with people from all over the area. Thomas had never performed in front of so many people before. Community center. This is a building where local people gather for events and activities. Packed. This means completely full of people. Backstage, Thomas held his grandfather's old guitar and tried to calm his nerves. His hands were shaking and his heart was pounding in his chest. Backstage, this is the area behind the stage where performers wait. Calm his nerves, this means to make himself less nervous. Pounding, this means beaking very fast and hard. "Number 15, Thomas Thompson, you're up next," announced the stage manager. Thomas walked onto the stage and looked out at the sea of faces staring back at him. For a moment, he felt overwhelmed by the crowd. Sea of faces. This is a poetic way to say many faces. Overwhelmed. This means feeling like something is too much to handle. Then he saw his parents in the front row, smiling encouragingly at him. He saw Miss Adams, who had helped him with his math. He saw Peter, his best friend, giving him a thumbs up. He even saw some of the neighbors for whom he had done odd jobs. Encouragingly, this means in a way that gives someone confidence. Thumbs up, this is a gesture that means good luck or well done. Odd jobs, this means small, various tasks. Thomas took a deep breath and began to play. The song he chose wasn't fancy or complicated. It was a simple melody about hope, family, and never giving up. But Thomas poured his heart and soul into every note. Poured his heart and soul. This means put all his emotions and effort into something. As he sang, his voice was raw with emotion. He sang about working hard to help his family. He sang about the fear of losing their home. He sang about the love that held them together even in difficult times. Raw with emotion, this means showing deep, uncontrolled feelings. The entire audience was silent, hanging on every word. Some people began to cry as they listened to this young boy's honest and heartfelt performance. Hanging on every word, this means listening very carefully to everything someone says. Heartfelt, this means sincere and full of genuine emotion. When Thomas finished, there was a moment of complete silence. Then the entire community center erupted in thunderous applause. People stood up, cheering and clapping. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Erupted, this means suddenly burst out. Thunderous applause, this means very loud clapping. Not a dry eye in the house, this means everyone was crying from emotion. Thomas felt proud of his performance, but more than that, he felt like he had shared something important with his community. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heartwarming English learning stories.
When the judges announced the winners, Thomas listened nervously as they called out the third place, second place, and finally the grand prize winner. Thomas's name was not called. A teenage girl who had performed an amazing dance routine won the $5,000 prize. For a moment, Thomas felt crushed. All his hopes, all his practice, all his dreams of saving his family's home seemed to disappear in an instant. But then something unexpected happened. As Thomas was packing up his guitar backstage, people from the audience began approaching him. "Thomas," said Mrs. Johnson, "your performance touched my heart. I've never heard anything so beautiful and honest." Mr. Garcia nodded in agreement. "You reminded us all of what's really important: family, community, and caring for each other." Mrs. Peterson, the elderly woman for whom Thomas had been running errands, stood up and made an announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said in a loud voice, "this young man has been working tirelessly to help his family. He mows our lawns, washes our dishes, and never complains. Tonight, he showed us his courage and his love for his family." Tirelessly means without getting tired, working very hard. Complains means says that something is wrong or unfair. I propose that we help Thomas and his family. They are part of our community, and when one family struggles, we all struggle. People began reaching into their pockets and purses. Some gave $5, some gave $20, some gave $50. The local businesses contributed even more. Within an hour, the community had raised over $6,000, more than the grand prize of the talent show. Reaching into means putting their hands into their pockets or purses. Contributed means gave money to help. Thomas couldn't believe what was happening. Tears of joy streamed down his face as one by one his neighbours and friends came forward to help. Tears of joy means crying because you're very happy. Streamed down means flowed down like water. Thomas's parents were overwhelmed by the community's generosity. They had never expected such kindness from their neighbours. Generosity. This means willingness to give money or help freely. "We don't know how to thank you," Mrs. Thompson said, her voice shaking with emotion. "You don't need to thank us," replied Miss Adams. "Thomas has shown us what it means to be part of a community. He stood up for his friend Peter when he was being bullied. He asked for help when he needed it. He worked hard to support his family. Tonight, he shared his heart with all of us." The village mayor stepped forward. "Thomas, you didn't win the grand prize tonight, but you won something much more valuable. You won the respect and admiration of your entire community." Mayor. This means the leader of a town or city. Admiration. This means feelings of respect and approval. That night, as Thomas lay in bed in the home that was now secure, he reflected on everything that had happened. Secure. This means safe and protected. Reflected. This means thought carefully about something. He had learned so many important lessons. He learned that asking for help was not weakness, but wisdom. He learned that helping others, like defending Peter from the bullies, created friendships and built character. Character. This means the mental and moral qualities of a person. Most importantly, he learned that true wealth wasn't measured in money, but in the love, support and care of the people around you. True wealth. This means real riches or value. Measured in. This means calculated or determined by.
The experience changed not just Thomas and his family, but the entire village. People realized that they had been living next to each other without really knowing each other or helping each other. Lasting change. This means a change that continues for a long time. The community started a fund to help families in need. They organized regular talent shows and community events. They created a system where neighbors could easily ask for help and offer help to others. Fund. This is money saved for a specific purpose. Organized. This means planned and arranged. Thomas became somewhat of a local hero, but he remained humble. He continued to help his neighbors, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Humble. This means not thinking you're more important than others. His friendship with Peter grew stronger, and together they started a small group at school for children who felt lonely or bullied. They created a safe space where everyone could belong. Miss Adams continued to help Thomas with his studies, and his grades improved dramatically. But more importantly, Thomas had learned that education wasn't just about memorizing facts, it was about learning to solve problems and help others. Dramatically. This means in a very noticeable way. Memorizing facts. This means learning information by heart. The talent show became an annual tradition in the village. But it was no longer just about winning prizes. It became about sharing talents, building community, and supporting each other. Annual tradition. This means something that happens every year. Thomas performed every year, and each time his music reminded people of the importance of caring for one another. Years later, when Thomas grew up, he became a music teacher. He used his experiences to teach children not just about music, but about courage, community, and the power of never giving up. He would tell his students, the most beautiful music comes not from perfect technique, but from an honest heart that wants to help others. Perfect technique, this means having flawless skill. Honest heart, this means genuine, sincere feelings. Thomas learned that no matter what obstacles life presents, there's always a way to rise above them. Not always by winning competitions or achieving individual success, but by building connections with others and creating communities of care and support. Obstacles. These are difficulties or challenges that block your way. Rise above. This means to overcome or deal with successfully. Individual success. This means achieving something by yourself. Connections. These are relationships or bonds with other people. The song in Thomas's heart was never really about the music he played on his guitar. It was about the melody of kindness, the rhythm of helping others, and the harmony that comes when people work together for the good of all. Melody. This is the main tune in a piece of music. Rhythm. This is the regular pattern of beats in music. Harmony. This is when different musical notes sound good together. Thomas's story reminds us that sometimes our biggest challenges become our greatest opportunities, not to win prizes or become famous, but to discover the strength that comes from community, the joy that comes from helping others, and the peace that comes from knowing you're never truly alone. Challenges. These are difficult situations that test your abilities. Opportunities. These are chances to do something positive. The village learned that true success is measured not by what you achieve for yourself, but by how you lift up the people around you. Lift up. This means to help or encourage others. And Thomas learned that with courage, kindness, and community, there's always a song of hope in your heart, no matter how difficult life becomes. And that, my dear students, is the beautiful story of Thomas and how his community came together to help a family in need. Let me summarize our story. Thomas was a young boy whose family struggled with money problems. Despite his worries, he helped a bullied friend, asked his teacher for help with math, and worked hard to earn money for his family. When he performed in a talent show, hoping to win money, he didn't win the grand prize, but his honest performance moved the entire community to help his family. Thomas learned that true wealth comes from the love and support of community. Here are 5 key words to remember from today's story. Community, a group of people who live in the same area and help each other. Courage, being brave when you're afraid. Generosity, willingness to give money or help freely. Humble, not thinking you're more important than others. Connections, relationships or bonds with other people. Now, let me ask you, what do you think was the most important lesson Thomas learned? How can we build stronger communities in our own lives? Remember, Thomas's story shows us that asking for help is wisdom, helping others builds character, and the strongest communities are built when people care for each other. Thank you for joining me on Thomas's heartwarming journey. If you enjoyed learning English through this touching story, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tell me in the comments, how do you help people in your community? Until next time, remember that like Thomas, you have a song in your heart, a song of kindness, courage, and care for others. Keep that song alive, and it will make the world a more beautiful place. Keep learning, keep caring, and keep believing in the power of community.